4.1, request for extension of the Turangi-Tongariro refuse transfer station operations contract. Mr. Brent Aiken. Good afternoon, Brent. Yeah. Sorry, Brent. Yeah, thank you.
Your Worship, councillors. Sorry about that.
Councillor Taylor.
So, just point of order, you need to take my name off. Secondly, that I wasn't present at that last meeting. I can't.
Oh, sorry.
Second the minutes.
Sorry, I thought you looked towards me. No, glancing eyes. Thanks you, Councillor Park. Thank you.
Your Worship, we've got a transfer station operational contract that includes Amuri Whaiaroa Turangi. It's got a 3+1+1 term. It's up for its first +1. Unfortunately, we lost our long-serving contract manager due to COVID-19. We've had someone new on, and we've been working closely with that person to make sure that the site delivers as it should, and we'll continue to do so. I would like to put an amendment to the resolution on the table. Unfortunately, when doing the calculations, we've inadvertently left off the cost fluctuations value to the contract. So, yep, not a great outcome, but at least we've caught it now. So, Shani, would you be able to put up the new resolution?
The new recommendation there?
But I'll take any questions from the floor.
So just a $292,000 amendment.
It's about 17. So the average is around about a 2% cost fluctuation increase over the 3-year term up to now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any questions or mistaken? Councillor Kingi.
Yeah, thank you for that, Brent. Look, I just wonder, just because there was a great deal of interest from Turangi around the some of the goings on with our local transfer station, if you might just give some clarification as to how we've managed that and how we're going to manage it going forward around how the site was managed.
Yeah, so as I've identified, we unfortunately lost our long-serving contract manager over the COVID-19, and the contractor Metallic was able to bring in a new person in short notice. We have been working closely with that person for a period of time. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked out for them and for us. We have now required the contractor to provide us with a new contract manager, and that new contract manager will be working with us, their regional manager, to obviously get the contract working as it should be in the near future. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Mack.
So just on that as well, with the new contractor, I know he's independent of us, but do we have any say as to the person that they employ? Obviously based on the last one, we have no input into that?
We'll have some oversight as into their skill set. And obviously, I think they've chosen someone that's worked at the site previously that we have some knowledge. We're confident that we can work with him to get the site working, but you know, it's early days, it's a new person, but the person's had experience at the Turangi transfer station operation previously. We are confident that we will get them to where they need to be.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you. No other questions or mistaken? Okay. Yep, okay. Sure, so there's the new recommendation item 4.1 up there. It's been moved by Councillor Taylor. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Kingi. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Aiken. Right, 4. Yeah, sorry, you're still here, aren't you? 4.2. So, 2-year extension to the TDC. District Refuse and Recycling Collection.
Your Worship, this is a 7-year term original contract. It's up for a +2. I think the item identifies that there's quite a bit of movement in the marketplace in regards to recovered materials at the moment. We're hoping that legislation might come in to support containers to go into a product stewardship scheme that might well change what the value of those products are, which would ultimately change what the value of the contract is. And unfortunately, we don't know those things. I would like to come back to you in the near future once we do know those things to be able to discuss options going forward and what that contract and what the service delivery might look like, but we're not quite there yet, is the answer. So that this contract, this 2-year rollover will give us that time to flesh that out and get happy with what the next service delivery looks like.
Cool. Okay, thank you, Mr. Aiken. Councillor Park.
Yes, thank you. Just through the chair, Brent, we've gone from being able to recycle 1 through to 7
Yes,
to being reduced to just 1 and 2.
yes.
So, how much of an apportion of the contract would it be made up with the sorting facilities and whatnot?
Very small portion
That
for the
level
3
is-
to 7. They're a small portion of the overall marketplace. I would like to try and announce now that hopefully we'll be collecting number 5s before Christmas. That's part of our negotiations of the rollover of this contract, and I know that's something I talked to the Chief Executive that we wanted to try and achieve. We think we've got a market for those in Palmerston North, so we'll hopefully be rolling that out before Christmas, but I've yet to fully confirm that with the contractor, but that's what our goal is.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Very good. No other questions are mistaken? Okay, there's a recommendation up there. Could I have a mover, please, for that? Thank you, Councillor Truman. Seconded by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. 4.3, consideration of the proposed lease extension, the Coast Guard at 14 Ratou Street. Gemma. Good afternoon, Gemma.
Turn that off, didn't you, Brent? Through Your Worship, I apologise, I didn't actually include my attachment which showed the aerial image. I have sent it through. Have you received it or not? Okay. See if I can figure out how to put that up for you.
I think we possibly know where
You know where
the
it
Coast
is?
Guard
Okay,
is.
so
but
yeah, apologies
everyone-
for the
yeah.
attachment not making
yeah,
it through.
so don't worry about that.
All right.
Yeah.
So just wanted to talk through the request that's been put and the recommendation in respect of the Coast Guard, who rent part of our site over at 14 Rahoto Street for obviously their office and training facilities and the like. So just in terms of that, in 2004 they were given a 15-year lease to operate at the site, and they put their building up, and that was then self-funded. It was just a ground lease, and noticed that their leases had expired, and we're just suggest in this paper through to 2026 to align with the other lease that's in place on the balance of the land. So happy to
Cool.
answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Gemma. Any questions, Gemma? No, all pretty straightforward. A fantastic organisation that do wonderful work, so they can use our land. Good on them. Okay, so moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Rankin. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thanks, Gemma.
Thank you.
Item 4.4, Wai Order House project request here for unbudgeted expenditure. Page 21. Good afternoon, Dylan. Kia ora.
Maloni. Happy Tokolao Language Week, Your Worship.
Yes.
You did a
that?
speech.
How is that? Sorry.
Maloni
Maloli.
is kia ora in Tokolao.
Pleased to say we're flying the Tokoloan flag at the Great Lakes Centre this week. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you.
So your Tokolauan community is very active, so obviously just to honour them.
Very much so.
But nevertheless, Wilder House, I'm the project sponsor and I'm sitting before you with an application for unbudgeted expenditure for 380,000 as a part of a project to rebuild after the demolition of Wilder House some 2 years ago. So I'll take the paper as read, and if there are any questions from council.
Okay. All right. Where do we start? Councillors, any questions of Dylan this afternoon? No, I suppose, yeah, Councillor Westman, you start.
I suppose I'm just concerned that we're jumping the gun a little bit, and with money as tight as it is, that we're considering this option instead of leaving it to the long-term plan.
Cool. Councillor Park?
Through the chair, I'd really appreciate all the work that the steering group has done in this, and you, Dylan, with your team. When we looked at this project, it was sort of before COVID and before realising the core services renewals and infrastructure replacements that might need to occur in the long-term plan. So I, like Councillor Westerman, see this as not being timely right now, and that it needs to be looked as part of the bigger picture with the limited monies we have going forward.
Okay.
Through
Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a slightly different take on this. I know, obviously, I understand the comments being made by Anna, and appreciate everyone's comments. But and obviously, looking at the numbers, you know, it's a bit concerning. Like, that's defendable. But we did make an undertaking for the full council to progress this as a priority. And obviously, going into consultation, that will be the time when, while I'm going for long-term planning, we'll do the numbers. I don't see us getting confused with the infrastructure. This is a separate, I know still have to fit into our debts, ceilings and all our financial strategy, but I think the analysis conclusion, to me, just sums it up that it gives the council enables time to discuss the future of the project as part of the long-term planning consultation document. Will provide the community with a clearer picture of what the objectives of the project are, alternatives to deliver these objectives, how much it might cost, and where it sits in council overall priorities. I mean, this is a 40-50 year project, 50 year thing for one of our core sort of things around about our under the Local Government Act, the social requirements, you know. And I think that, to me, I find that it's quite important to progress it. You know, keep delaying this, it's only going to cost more money in the long run. And having said that, I do understand going forward, you know, providing unbudgeted money going into this. At this stage, we've taken money out through the COVID and a zero rates increase. So I understand there'll be some consternation in the community why this has been doing, why it's been prioritised. But to me, it's a priority in the long game, and to me, I think we should be supporting it. It's only the first two stages, and I understand some of the comments, appreciate some of the comments made this morning were very sensible and a lot of logic, but to me, I will defend this option of the recommendation going forward. Thank you.
Councillor Rankin.
I was on the steering committee and I was absolutely and totally in support of replacing Waiora House, but with a potential $9 million spend at the moment, I couldn't agree to spend this money outside the long-term plan process. And if it really is a $9 million spend, I think maybe we have to look at another way of doing this, because we have very little money to spend in the near future, and I know how the community feel about it, and of course we need to support that, but I think we have to be responsible and sensible.
Okay. Councillor Mack.
I have to echo that as well, just because of the amount. I think any community group that goes into a building for $9 million would wonder if that money could actually be better spent. Much as it's going to house them, I think that $9 million would be better spent with a cheaper building, or a building that was more, if you like, fit for purpose once we ask them what they need, as opposed to going out and getting $9 million that we just don't have.
So if I can respond, Your Worship, just on that comment, the project was directed from council to go and undertake a conversation. We have established a project. We've undertaken a conversation with your management structure, being Waiora Community Trust, and they've identified what the floor space, and we've gone out and sought professional advice. That professional advice has come in with the amounts. This first two steps is the conceptual and preliminary designs only, after which those two things would contribute to your long-term planning process. So that would be a part of the confirmation of the amount of dollars that you would then include if you chose to as council. It's not committing you to anything other than understanding the concepts and the preliminary design, and would give you the picture to then talk to external funders as well.
Okay. All right. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too was on the steering group, and I'm leaning more towards echoing what Councillor Williamson has just said. I'd have to say the overall cost that's been put forward to me is untenable, but also doing nothing is untenable, and we have, in my view, an obligation to the not-for-profits who are providing an invaluable service to the community, without which lots of things are going to start going badly wrong right across our extended community. My concern is that there could or should be another way forward for this. Doing nothing, as quite rightly is put out in option 1, this is not sustainable, the present position that we're in. If we vote this down, my concern is that we have a viable alternative to move forward, as opposed to sitting on our hands for another 6 or 8 months. That's my major concern with this.
Cool.
Well, obviously, I've been here before, and it's sort of like a bit of the sort of sitting on their hands, like as Councillor Taylor says, and obviously it's going to cost more money. I think we talk about the council, and I like to think I'm sort of fairly realistic and sort of sensible and sort of, not reckless, but we're trying to advocate ourselves as being a council a bit brave, And I know this easy to say that you say quick enough, but we have to still see the numbers going in through the next few weeks about what money needs to be spent and what we want to be spending. So we have to be, keep that in mind. So I just feel that, it's just a bit of a Groundhog Day for me anyway, personally. Again, I think I'm back in history.
Councillor Truman?
Yeah, I too feel that we can't drop the ball now. We have to keep going. But I just think we've got a pretty clear steer that we can't spend that kind of money. And is there another way forward? And I also understand from your position, you need some funding to be able to see what the options are. So I'd like to see us put some funding towards it to say that we've got some options for the long-term plan as a way forward, because it's something that we all agree that we definitely need to support. So.
Cool. Councillor Boddy?
Just make a very quick comment, Mr. Chairman. If I was going to prioritise at the moment, I'd be going for the museum and the arts, and I was a little bit disappointed that when we went to central government for that money, I think the museum and the arts were right at the bottom of the list. To me, that's the priority if we're going to spend money, but it's just what it's worth.
Through the chair, Councillor Boddy, does make a very valid point. However, there's a little bit more being on the Friends of Museum Committee. After appreciation, there's a bit of work to still be done, sourcing that external money, also the co-governance model. There's a few other things we have to deal with going forward as well. But I appreciate your comment.
Okay, can I ask, Dylan, by delaying, as some of the councillors suggested, delaying the long-term plan, what does that mean? Like, as in the expenditure of this money to the long-term plan, or I'm just trying to, you'll need a guidance, won't you?
We don't have any budget attached to this project. This has come through specifically from a request from council. So we've formalised the project. We now have a plan that we could fulfil and deliver to ribbon cutting ceremony, but obviously there has to be another conversation with the LTP. So we've got some steps that we can go through. You've got 4 options that are in there. Yep. There is an option of leaving it on the table for us to go back and do some work specifically around what are some other steps, again, less than 380,000, taking on the councillors' views that there is still some work that needs to be done as a priority, but it might not be necessarily the concept and preliminary design that's in this request. And
I endorse what you say. You've done exactly what we've asked you to, and you've presented us with the paper today, and understandable. It's just the dollars that scares us. It's the dollars that worry us. So I think hopefully that's what you're getting sentiment about. Yeah, Councillor Taylor.
So through the chair, if I may, at the risk of this being voted down and we do nothing, can I take the suggestion that we leave this on the table for 1 month, and as part of the team involved in this, the steering group, we commit to engaging more robustly over that time with Dylan as the project sponsor, and coming back with a more palatable option in 1 month's time.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Your Worship,
Very wise suggestion. CEO.
the added advantage that Your Worship is that we'll be a lot more wiser in terms of long-term plan by then as well, and you will have started your conversation, so you'll know more around that financial picture.
Okay. Councillor Park?
Yeah, through the chair, I'd like to support Councillor Taylor's suggestion wholeheartedly.
Cool. Thank you. What's the resolution parked as the word? No? Lies on the table. Okay. Do you need a resolution to that effect? Yeah. Do we need a resolution for that? We just don't park it. Okay. Okay. So the suggestion is that we suggested recommendation lies on the table for 1 month from today, and it's been moved by Councillor Taylor and seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thanks very much, Dylan. Sorry. You want against? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Just on the understanding as well that obviously for the month, which is all cool, on the understanding that the 9 million is just a no-go, and the 385,000 in a month's time, to my mind, is still not an acceptable amount of money to spend.
I think that's what Councillor Taylor has steered us in that direction.
So through you, Your Worship, the steering committee
Yes.
will have taken that information back for a conversation going forward. That wasn't the question we asked around the 9 million. It was specifically around 380,000.
Yeah.
So we'll take that into the process within the steering group. My understanding of coming back in a month's time is some way forward with less cost, but also going through and refining what those costs are being spent on as a build-up to the LTP conversation.
Perfect.
If I could, Your Worship, if we could just note that the steering committee, whoever's involved with Wilder House, might be good to just explain what lying on the table is to the people in those agencies, because if it gets through that there's no longer, the support needs to be maintained for Wilder House and their community that work there.
Cool. Yep. I would say the steering group will come together very, very shortly to discuss all those matters. Councillor Williamson, sorry.
Sure, I think I probably will withdraw my dissension, given what my initial comments around about waiting to see what was in the Alan and Heather's and Neil Wood's figures produced this time next month, is it? Okay.
So you want to withdraw? Is that possible? Yep, cool. Thank you, Shani. All right, thank you very much. Thanks, Dylan. Item number 4.5, appointment of rangers for the purpose of the Reserves Act 1977. Mr. Nigel McCaddy. Good afternoon, Nigel.
Good afternoon. It's a fairly self-explanatory item. This is about the council appointing rangers to carry out some functions on the reserves. This came about because of changes to the Reserves Act, which has enabled rangers to issue infringement notices, which is a change that came about in February this year. So anything that provides another tool in the enforcement toolbox has got to be a welcome thing. So because the Act says that the council as the administering authority needs to appoint the rangers, that's why the item's before you, and then the chief executive can then authorise rangers in writing to then go ahead and issue infringement notices. So the types of offences we're talking about that probably our officers are more likely than not to be involved in would be vegetation clearance and camping on reserves, those sorts of matters. Not expecting an avalanche of infringements, but it is another tool.
Littering?
That's under the Littering Act. Yeah. But yeah, littering will be an offence. Yeah, it's under there.
Yeah. What sort of numbers have we got? And staffing wise, rangers?
We've got a team of 8 enforcement officers.
Cool. All right, any questions of Nigel? Councillor Boddy.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Chairman. I noticed in the paper there was an advertisement for students over the summer period, and one of them was 3 rangers. A compliance officer, do they have to have a qualification, and how would those 3, if there's 3 rangers appointed from the collective of the
so that's,
how does that work?
Yes, I can probably answer that one. So that's they're environmental rangers, so essentially people helping with the parks and reserves and sanitation and the like. So physical labourer.
But they would still be fully backed up by the law of the day, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. So we train them so that they're able to do that work. So most of those environmental rangers sit on the back of weed eaters over the summer period, which is our grass growth period, to keep on top of the grass and to give our team some time off.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you, Councillor Body. Councillor Mack.
Just a query on the 8 of them. Where are they all based? Are they in Taupō? Or?
Yes, they're up at the dog pound. That's where they're all based. They're mostly out on the road working out of their vehicles.
Councillor Trevan.
Yeah, so do they deal with freedom camping issues at all, or is that our ambassadors only that deal with that? Or?
Yes, they can deal with freedom camping issues. I mean, the beauty of the freedom camping ambassadors is to try and prevent us having to go down the formal enforcement path, but they are able to issue infringements under the Freedom Camping Act. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much, Nigel. Okay, so we have a suggested recommendation that they become rangers. They have a badge as well, like a ranger.
They've got a written warrant.
A written warrant. Okay. All right. Okay, could I have a mover? Thanks, Councillor Kingy, seconded by Councillor Mack. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Nigel. Appreciate that. All right. 4.6, Councillors' September Performance Report. Mr. Green.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just starting off before I hand over to Alan and the team to go through the specifics as always. I guess as a starting point, I'd just say that that we've been incredibly busy as a district and subsequently as a council team for the last little while since COVID. And so my report talks a lot about that. You'll see the information around the building consent area in particular, which is we're experiencing about a 15% increase in building consents at the moment. And you'll see that if you drive out towards the airport or through Kinloch, you'll see where that's occurring. And that's reflective as well right throughout the district and the different activities that we undertake. In fact, just last week, Your Worship, and it's not in the report because it came too late, but just last week the Market View report, which is the credit card spending for the district, was released, where it showed that the Taupō District is 14.7% up on the same period, the same quarter last year. So I think it's fair to say that COVID has been pretty friendly to us in terms of the positive impact in terms of how busy we are. Both the property market, the general spend, tourism, and you'll see that Air New Zealand, as an example, returned back to 3 return flights between Taupō and Auckland now. So we're doing pretty well. On top of that, of course, is our delivery of the projects that we managed to be successful through the central government shovel-ready money, which is no easy feat. And obviously that's creating issues for us in terms of resourcing and being able to deliver all of what we need to deliver. So it's a happy story because we are really busy, but it's one that we'll throw out there that it is putting stress and strain on the team who are trying to deliver this work. But I say much better than what the economists were predicting as we came through lockdown, which was that we potentially were going to be one of the top 3 or 4 adversely affected districts in the country, which clearly hasn't occurred. So COVID's pretty kind to us. I think it's probably just because of our proximity to the big metropolitan areas, the ability for people to drive here and come and have a break. So, Alan.
Thanks. Thank you, Alan. Right, through the chair, quite a challenge actually, because we've come into this year with a 0 rate increase, and pleasing at the end of September to show that we've got a positive return against budget. We're finding it a bit of an accounting challenge with the inflow of the CIP program and our need to capture everybody's time from a capital perspective to capitalise into projects versus normal BAU. So you can see at the end of September we're slightly over in our personnel costs. That's part of the work that we're doing as far as trying to identify the full extent of what can actually be charged against those capital projects. Because as you can see on the next page, we've actually only year to date done 8.8 million of capital works out of the 98 million, and that's because things are only just starting to have the rubber hit the road. As far as the borrowings are concerned, included in that's 20 million of pre-funding. We pre-funded in September last year for a borrowing stream that comes up in May 2021. But it's interesting that year to date, even though the OCR is only at 0.25, we've actually made 26,000 on that particular pre-funding this financial year. As far as the actual investments are concerned, you would have noticed there was a wee bit of a dip in our equities at the end of September, but the market's so volatile that by the 12th of October the portfolio had improved 590,000, and even at the end of last week it was 375,000 higher than it was at the end of September. So, you know, it's a moving beast. So in theory, where we show 0.9 favourable variance at the end of September, that can easily move by up to $500,000 just on the improvement in the share market. So you know, it's pretty volatile out there, but at least we at this stage of the year are in a positive position.
Thanks, Alan. Any questions about the financials? Council Body?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to the Statement of Comprehensive Revenue and Expenses on 32, I noticed that there was an unbudgeted donation of 100 grand. Where would that have come from?
I will look in.
That's the playground money.
It'll be the playground money from King of the Ring Charitable Trust.
Ah, that's right.
100% Great Lake Local Trust. So,
And,
yeah,
thank you, Mr. Chairman. And then just up above it's got that 920 annual plan budget surplus adjusted, because this is the first finances since the new financial year, is it not?
Yes, so there's been no adjustment.
No adjustments.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, so that 100k, so can
That was from
yeah.
the Lord of the Rings or what it was.
Yeah, so
Funding.
Lord of the Rings. No, we'd need more than that from them. So it's Great Lake Charitable Trust. That can be noted, very kindly donated $100,000 to our projected donation. Yeah, so to our Tongariro Domain Playground. Correct. Thanks, Alan. And no questions before Alan goes? No? Cool. All right. Next is who? Yeah, community, what do we get? Investment, democracy and planning, is it?
So as you can see, the financials, there's nothing to comment on there. They're all tracking online. In terms of the projects, apart from the first two, which you're aware of, the Turangi Reserve Management Plan, which is on hold, and the review of the district plan, all the others are tracking at green for the moment.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Any questions of Mrs. Jakes? No, thank you, Tina. Community services.
Yes, Your Worship, I can talk to this one in Brian's absence.
Thank you, Nigel.
On the financials, you'll see that there was a positive result on the income due to higher building consents, which was offset because of the professional fees to deal with that increased volume. But otherwise, the picture remains as expected. In terms of the community services service delivery results, the result for dole control, it's one of those figures I've talked about before, 100% per year target. So if there's one slip up, which I understand was through an administrative matter the previous month, then for the year, we're never going to hit the target. So it's something I'd like to see us have a close look at next time those performance targets are set. But otherwise, for the month, we were on target, so there's no concerns there. I think, Dylan, you were able to talk to the grants matter? Yeah.
So you'll know from our workshop on the grants policy, we're in our final year for the independent distributors. So most of the teams are working through their allocation of funding for the LTP. They'll be then making applications to be independent distributors as part of our long-term plan process next year. You'll remember in our conversation on the workshop, our compliance with our audit and what was required going into operationalising the policy. So at the moment we do have one that continues to use paper application process. We'll look to streamline that into consistency across all of our distributors in the new term starting next year.
Thank you, Dylan. Community facilities.
So community facilities, we're all favourable on the pūtea, on the cash money, but in terms of projects, we're still just wrapping up the last of the Great Lakes Shared Pathway. There's a few things that the contractors are just working through, assessing everything, but that by and large is completed and everyone in the world loves it. From the, sorry, I'm just having technological issues. Our time with Turangi-Tongariro in last Monday, you will remember we had conversations planned around the Te Kapua Park upgrade and some of those projects down there. That work will continue when we revisit with Turangi-Tongariro to carry on that conversation. So that's not completed, but obviously there's still those there. The upgrades from the erosion space, Greg has been working through, continues to work alongside the different partners involved in the project. And you'll see there the upgrade at Mangakino, they're working through the procurement process of the tenders and everything, so that's trucking along. And that's all I've got for that one, Your Worship.
Yep, no questions of Dylan. Okay, water.
Afternoon all. So the water ones, I'll just concentrate particularly on the red project items there. Most of them have been spoken about before. Just a couple, one comment on the reticulation of 5 Mile Bay. All of those have been, the submissions have been received, and I think it's the date is the 3rd of November. We've got some meetings based for that one. So nothing more to report on water unless anyone else has got any more questions.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin.
Next one's transportation. Probably just something to note there is the LED lights. We currently have a tender out for the actual light fittings, and that will close next Wednesday for that. And then once we've got the fittings, get them supplied here, we'll go out for the installation of those as well. Nothing.
Wastewater.
Wastewater. So just a couple of comments on the wastewater one. It's still on track for early. Probably more mid-November rather than early November, but it certainly will be before the deadline, which is really before the Christmas influx into Kinloch. We'll certainly be ready by then. And then the other ones, the balance bond's been well discussed before, to do with Turangi-Tongariro relationship stuff there. The bottom one really is, it's orange. It should really be red for Taupō Wastewater Southern Link Southern Trunk Main upgrade, and that'll be something that we'll be workshopping with councillors through the LTP process. It's a big piece of work there, so we'll be doing that.
All right. And then wastewater.
It's wastewater. Nothing there.
Oh, sorry, solid waste.
And the next two I'll just take as red, solid waste and stormwater. Same old there. Everything seems to be on track.
Sorry, did we talk about those abatement notices? We've talked about those previously, haven't they? Sorry, back to back to waste.
There's no new ones there.
No new
ones,
ones.
Which is a good thing. They are ones that we've known about, and we're on our way to responding to those. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Solid waste, we've done that.
Yep.
No questions on solid waste or wastewater? No. Stormwater.
Yeah, stormwater is pretty much all the projects are on track there, moving our way through.
Okay, economic development, John.
I've got nothing to add really, from particularly Gary's opening gambit there, which sort of gave us a real good economic picture, which is quite fascinating in comparison to what the economists were saying. There's no projects in this area, so unless there's any questions, I've got nothing to add.
Okay, so yeah, so those pay mark figures, are they readily available to the press and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, we've distributed them here.
To the councillors, yep, and obviously the press can get hold of those? Yep, they're public information. Yep, cool. Thank you. Thank you, John. All right. We've done everything else. Finances, Treasury report, we've done that. No, it's all good. Any other questions of the CEO? Regarding the performance report? No? Councillor Park.
Sorry, Mr. Manager, if I can just ask Alan a question. Alan, with the amount we have in shareholdings, are you quite comfortable with those investments still, considering the volatile market you were talking about before?
Yeah. Through the chair, we're still looking at buy and sell opportunities. It's just a matter of picking the time to actually move. When we look at it, one of our major shares that we've had a drop on in the last year or so has been the ANZ Bank, because the banking sector, well, we'll just sit on that. So there's a variety of ways of looking at the market. We're not speculating, let's put it that way.
We've fixed a percentage of what investment we have in equities, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. What
we're well below that.
What percentage is that again?
We can get up to 25%.
Okay, cool.
Are you suggesting that I do?
No. No, I just want clarification. I noticed Councillor Boddy, did he have his hand up prior to that? Did you, Councillor Boddy?
On the question you've asked now?
Equities here.
No.
No, okay.
You know my stand on equities, but that's another debate.
Councillor Mack.
Just on the shareholding, I know they've dropped, like say the ANZ, but you're still receiving dividends from them. Do all our shares receive dividends?
There have been a number of companies who have put a freeze on their dividends in the current market, coming out of the type of approach that they're taking, because you imagine if it's retailing, it has a certain effect. And for example, if you look at Melbourne, it comes out of tonight after 100 days lockdown, or the shops can start opening again. So that's caused a lot of the sectors to actually take a step back from paying dividends.
Yes, Councillor Williamson.
I won't get into a discussion with Councillor Boddy on this one, but it'll be a point of difference, but it's fair enough, it's democracy. But I think, to me, I try and keep it simple with the share market up, it's an unrealised gain. If it's a loss, it's unrealised loss. It's only when you sell them, when you make it, make a gain or make a loss. So it's a longer game, isn't it? With interest rates there where they are, well,
that's the challenge we're finding as far as our fixed interest is concerned, because everybody appreciates what the current rates are. I looked at the other day, and you're lucky to get 1% for 12 months. It makes it quite a challenge.
We're paying them to look after it, shortly.
Yeah.
All right, Councillor Boddy.
If I may go back to stormwater, I just want to check something. In our agenda item on page 56, the Brentwood Gully Culvert and Erosion Control contribution, it's got 10,000. The annual plan is 110,000. Is that a mistake or not?
I'd have to check with the finance team whether that is a mistake, but I do know that we are continually doing work on that with the hapu in that area.
Yeah, just that the annual plan shows 110,000, and here life budget to June next year is 10,000.
The only thing I'd have to be sure of, I'm not sure because we did go through and remove a lot of budgets. Whether we remove this one, I'm not too sure. So I can check that and get back to you via email.
Yeah, no rush. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you, Alan. And thank you, Gareth and team this afternoon on the September report. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. 4.7, adoption of meetings 2021. Tina.
So Shani's very kindly put this together for you. So this will be your work program that we know about for next year, and really just wanted to make sure that there was nothing glaringly obvious there that might not work for you.
I've got a birthday party on. Well done, Shane. Thank you very much for that. Sorry.
Could we just
Councillor Leonard.
Could we just look to change the June Taupō East Rural meeting to the following week? That week is the field days that they've adjusted the dates of. It's normally the week prior, around that 9th, 10th, 11th, but next year it's going to be the 16th to the 19th of June.
Very good suggestion. Thank you.
So around the 24th.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, no problems.
Very good. Thank you. Councillor Rankin. Okay. Cool. No problem taking note of that.
We'll put them in your meeting calendar.
In the calendar as well, yeah. Very good. Okay, thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Westerman, seconded by Councillor Leonard. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Right, what's next? 4.8. Council engagements, November 2020. Any changes to those meeting times or meeting dates at all? Is rural is correct? Cool. You'll let Deborah Goddard know. Thank you very much. Right. Have a mover,
We have
please.
no changes at the moment, but
No
that might change.
No changes, okay. So we have a mover, moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Kingy. Those dates we agreed to, receive the information. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. 4.9, members' reports. Any members' reports updated? Councillor Williamson?
Attended the Waipahi's Botanical Society Water Management meeting last month.
Cool.
This month, sorry.
How'd they go? I saw that sad situation, the native keruru that was run over up there. Very sad. Yeah. Hopefully by mistake. Councillor Park?
No, nothing to report on, Your Worship, apart from a successful tour of geothermal and hydro stations with Mercury Energy. So great thanks to Mercury for hosting us on that day. And just about within the youth space, about to go to the prize giving. So sort of a cart before horse, and 2 children entering NCA level 1 exams next week.
True. Councillor Taylor?
I'll just echo the thanks to Mercury for the invite, Councillor Park. Monday next week I'll be at the Regional Transport Committee. I've just already spoken to Councillor Mack. If there's any other issues he wants me to raise, let me know before then. I'll be meeting with Dennis and the team Thursday this week in relation to that.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Truman?
Yeah, just ditto to thanking Mercury for the tour, very informative, and also, yeah, probably just a heads up to everyone that we will want to put through a special meeting of some sort to get this the sports ground up and going whenever we get that finalised, but because we don't have another meeting until the start of next year, so hopefully we will get something started before then.
Thanks, Councillor Truman. Councillor Westerman?
Kirsty and I met with the operators of the play centre in Mangakino the other day, which have a building on some council land. They haven't been using it for the last few years, and they're trying to look at who could go in there, so that was on the cards. We're also still working on the Rangatira Point lease and trying to get that tidied up before the end of the year. The Acacia Bay Residents Association are due to launch their magazine, their annual magazine, which is always well received. There's been some fabulous comments about the footpath up Mapa Road Hill, and the grass strike is the topic of conversation at the moment, and some ongoing issues regarding cherry trees that are ring-barked and blackberry, but I'll bring those up with whoever I'm meant to be talking to about that.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Councillor Westman. Councillor Rankin?
I met with a group that's been formed out of the Revitalising Taupō, about housing, and they have a plan that they're going to bring to us soon, which is very hopeful and positive. So I'm looking forward to the rest of my colleagues hearing about that.
Cool. Thank you, Councillor Rankin. Councillor Mack?
Mine again, just a thank you to Mercury. I thought it was really interesting. I've never been to one of these stations, so to see what's involved in generating power, I think we can see why it costs so much to use electricity. NZTA, obviously the ongoing between Turangi and Taupo, but I have to say they have actually been really good. They're not going to change what they've done, obviously, but they are taking on some criticisms of how it was done, and they're actually really good in changing that, so I'm keeping on with that. And tonight, just got the police in Turangi. They've got a meeting, just have a chat with the locals about what they're up to.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Mack. Councillor Leonard.
I just wanted to congratulate our rural communities on the wonderful agricultural days that we've hosted over the last fortnight. It's been wonderful to see all the work go on to those.
Absolutely. Councillor Kingy.
Oh, thank you, Worship. Just been attending a few meetings back home just regarding community safety stuff. Hopefully we'll have our community safety hub opening by 1 December, and a bit of work around the community patrol stuff with police, and I'll be attending the police community meeting tonight in Turangi.
Thank you, Councillor Kingy. I think Councillor Potty. Very good. Okay. Members' reports. Just need a mover. Thanks, Councillor Truman. Thank you, Councillor Westman. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against. Carried. Right. Is that it? I've just sent that respondent a email back now, so the answers are in there, and I think Dennis has actually gone. Yeah. So if you just have a look on your email, that's gone back now. Yep. Thank you, Councillor Body. All right.